Welcome to the Lone Star Play podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. All right. Podcast is produced by Texas Real Food. So go to texasrealfood.com and you can see all through Texas, different places that are offering artisanal, organic, all natural products, basically. Any restaurants, bars, breweries, farmers markets, butcher shops, bakeries, things like that. It's a great site, brings all natural options all together. All right, let's get started on this episode. Okay, so we're continuing with the Lone Star lockdown, if you will. And today's guest is Joel Paprocki. Joel is actually an old friend that I went to high school with. He's a year or two younger than me. Actually went to high school with his older brother as well. We were in the same grade. Anyway, so Joel and I go way back, and it was great to bring him on to talk about what's happening in the industry, with the virus right now. And Joel he owns a insurance company that deals, I think 95% of his business probably, or 90%, is just all food related. So he helps insure restaurants and food trucks and mobile vendors and bars and all the different things that they need to do, and CPG companies, all kinds of different stuff. And he also recently, along with his wife, they purchased Capital Kitchens, which is a commercial kitchen here in Austin that has 2 locations. So they're doing a lot. They do a lot for the industry, and just wanted to get Joel's perspective on things and how things are going and look at it from an insurance angle, because so many people wanted to, I'm sure, claim the virus on their insurance for what happened. So we just kind of deep dive into that a little bit of how that can work out. So great conversation, great time, a lot of laughs. So here's Joel Paprocki with insuremyfood.com and of Capital Kitchens. Take a listen. Enjoy. Picture looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, audio's great. Sound good.
Well, so the camera's working. I don't have I have my headset. This is not on right now. It's going through the camera. I have several other options though.
No, that I hear you just fine, man. That sounds
Okay,
great. That sounds great. You could just have that on as prop. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to.
I also have this thing. I can just hold this up the whole time.
You got like a cockpit helmet, just like F-18. Okay, Patrick, I hear you loud and clear. Well, good, man. Good to see you, Joel. Dude, how crazy is this?
I know. This is crazy times.
This is crazy time, dude. And I haven't seen you in really forever, right? I mean, I've talked to you. Obviously, we've been talking to each other for years since I moved to Austin, but I haven't even been. It's crazy that I haven't seen you this whole time that I've been here in Austin. I feel like such an asshole, to be honest with you.
I don't get out very often. I got two kids, so I'm always.
You're always at home.
Always at home. I'm not going out.
Yeah, I mean, me neither, man. To be honest with you, especially when I first moved here and I had Boca and things. I mean, what was a life? I didn't know what a life was. I had no idea. Getting out and seeing people. I barely saw my wife at the time, much less anybody else. So yeah, man, you work really hard. You do a lot of things. So it's understandable. So look, dude, we're obviously in this crazy time right now, right? Like, we're dealing with some global pandemic, and I only chuckle because it's so ludicrous, right? It's just so, I just don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. Every day that I get up and every night when I go to sleep, I think about it, how crazy the situation is. When I'm living day to day, just during the day, I just try to think of it as a normal day. Don't try to overthink things too much. But it definitely hits me in the mornings and at night, what sort of crazy situation we're in, man. So what do you think about everything that's happening right now, man?
Well, I think it's crazy. My heart goes out to the people on the front lines and everyone keeping us going thus far. And then from like a more personal perspective, it's kind of like business planning used to be, quarterly, yearly, 3 years. Now it's 24 hours.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out the next 24 hours because everything's so fluid. It's changing. And It's hard to predict where this is going to end up. We know, we're going to get through it, but it's just, when is it? What does it look like is also unknown still.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's the worst part, really, I think, is just not knowing, when it is going to end. Like if we had a date, for instance, like July 12th, and we just knew from that day forward, things will be normal, right? Honestly, you could plan a lot, to that point. You kind of know where the finish line is, right? So you know how to pace yourself and this, that, and the other. But because we don't know where the finish line is, it's really hard to know what to do. And, that makes it even more frustrating. So what have you been doing at home for quarantine, for instance?
For work or for
Both.
both?
Yeah.
Well, so for work, it's not too difficult in my line of work to work remotely, and I've already about once a week I was already working remotely, so it's been a easy transition for that as far as being able to do my job. But of course, the needs of the clients are drastically different now than they were a few weeks ago. So spending a lot of time just kind of because I talk to so many people across the country about different food businesses, trying to share what's working in some areas, what trying to keep people positive and think of ideas and solutions and ways to pivot, as well as reviewing their insurance and ways we can defer payments, or can we lower our coverage, or do we need to add coverage because they're doing delivery. So just really a lot of account overviews and just kind of making sure people have the coverages they need or don't need during this time. And then personally at home, we have two kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and so they are doing some remote schooling, a 7-year-old, but you'll probably hear them in the background at some point. The 4-year-old doesn't have any schooling, so she's been around causing distractions. So, and then we just try to stay active, keep eating healthy, stay active, keep distance, and do things like these Zoom meetings with friends and stuff. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, what else can you do, right? It's, I guess for your job, it does make it's not as bad to work remotely. Well, let's talk about some of these clients and stuff that you're talking about. Obviously not getting into too many details. That stuff's private, but I'm more curious, like, you're in the insurance business, dude. Were people like immediately like, I need to claim the virus, for loss of sales? Were you just thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to come after me now? That would have been my first thought.
Yeah, well, so the whole virus pandemic is not something that surprised the insurance carriers. I mean, insurance is very old. Many pandemics have come and gone. And it's one of those things that you can't insure. Insurance is supposed to spread the risk across many, and then one person suffers a loss. This affects everyone. So this acts of war, nuclear disasters are all standard exclusions in an insurance policy. So I would love to be the hero is the hard part of it, and be like, here comes insurance to save the day.
Sure.
So that part is a struggle, and and then communicating that this isn't like the insurance companies found a way out of this. It's just literally impossible to insure. And to put it in perspective, the total premium collected for property and casualty, which is property and liability, and this includes home and auto insurance, is about 700 billion. And obviously, so the 700 billion, and the losses we're talking about economy-wise, we're talking trillions, 1, 2, 3 trillion. Who knows where we'll end? So it's literally an impossible thing to insure against when it affects everyone like this. So that part's been a little, I wish you could do more on the insurance side. Now, having said that, I mean, there are still people pushing forward with insurance claims and thinking, well, could a virus could be considered a physical damage loss, like something happened. And so
interesting.
It's a weak argument,
because
it's been tested prior, and then also that if the virus affects something, well, how do you fix it? Well, you clean it up, so you fixed it. Even though people can't get to your business, but if you're looking at it from a physical loss standpoint, the physical loss is that the virus is on something that damaged it. Well, fix it, you wipe it off, and it's done. So I never would discourage people from making claims if they have, whatever. You never want to do that. You're not the adjuster. At the same time, I would want to give people false hope that there's going to be insurance companies are going to come to the rescue, basically.
Yeah. Has anyone been like super pissed, just like, oh my God, like it's your fault, because I know times like these, that sort of thing happens. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a finger pointing, not from any of my clients.
Yeah.
I've seen it more from like the general public. The social medias of the world have a lot of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Once
That's
you kind
true.
of explain it, most people kind of get it. Well, how would you insure against something like this? And so,
Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it that way, to be honest with you. As far as like the whole, it affects everybody. So how can you really insure against that? Yeah, it makes total sense, but I never thought about that.
yeah,
Because as a normal person with insurance, you just think, something went wrong. That's what I have this insurance for. But you're right. Like South by, right? They had the same problem. Their insurance did not cover the pandemic, and I didn't understand that at the time. Like, why wouldn't that be covered in it? But you just explained it. How could you cover that, right? So how could they have that for that festival and the money that they lost for that, right? Because there's no way they could have claimed against that, right? Any festival, I guess, or any event. So I guess insurance is really just out of the loop out on the game of this, right? On the virus, all
yeah,
insurance, just period, just across the board.
they're going to pay if you get sick. But from the property and casualty standpoint, for a business, yes, that's correct. Now there are other angles to think about, like, what about workers' comp? So if my employee gets sick from COVID, normally,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
right, if
Okay.
someone gets the flu, they go home and they don't sue the business. In this
Yeah.
situation, it's different, so if they're on the front lines working, thinking like the healthcare or people working at HEB, et cetera, and they get sick, then they potentially would have some claim there. So that's a new territory, but there's definitely an angle of coverage.
Wow. That seems like new territory that we would be getting into like now, like this week and the next week.
Right.
Like I recently just saw, I think I read yesterday. So today is Monday, the 5th, right? Or the 6th? What's today? The 6th, right? And this episode will come out on Wednesday. So it'll be the 8th by then. So I read yesterday, I believe, that the very first HEB employee tested positive on the HEB in Austin on East Riverside,
Yeah.
the HEB Plus over there. I don't know if you read that as well. So basically, is that what's going to happen? Do you think like maybe employees are going to start to feel like, because I'm hearing rumblings of that in some Facebook groups that I'm in the for service industry, where people are complaining about, the way things are set up at the job that they're going to, right? They don't feel the safety is there for them to be still working during this time, and how other people are off of work, safe at home, collecting unemployment, right? So they're like, is this worth it for me to be up here working, right? So that's interesting. I don't know. So do you think
Yeah.
that can happen? I mean, is that, I guess people could make claims like that. Would that HEB employee have some sort of justification?
I believe so, and it's untested, but there's definitely an angle there that seems pretty solid if they wanted to make a claim.
Yeah,
But I mean, really, we're talking lost wages. We're talking, potentially injuries if they got, really really sick. But
totally.
if most of the employers in these fields that are very busy and have frontline are, either paying them more to help with, compensate for the extra risk, and then also, if they do, they're more than happy to pay them when they're not working if they did get sick. So I
Yeah,
don't see it being a huge thing, but there's definitely, that's an angle of insurance coverage that would apply as workers' comp. So
yeah. I mean, it almost makes sense that we'd start to see cases spreading out at some of these businesses. It just makes sense that people are going to start getting it working at some of these places. Amazon warehouse, the first HEB employee, Walmart, all these places. It just seems like eventually people working there are going to get this thing, and different restaurants. I posted an article recently about, and it makes me sad to even say it, but it was an article about big restaurant groups that were closing regardless because they just didn't feel it was safe to even be open, regardless of, even if they take all the measures to ensure that, safety protocol and this and that, health wise, that there's still customers that are approaching you that aren't taking those precautions that could just get you sick immediately, you know? So it made me sad, but that they're closing all these restaurants down, and it makes me think, is that the best decision? You know, do we need to think of the bigger picture? You know, do we need to, you know, make it, I realize that they're considered essential, but I don't want them to become expendable, you know? And I hate that it's like, oh, well, we need you in the grocery store working, you know, but you could lose your life at this point doing that. Do we really need you boxing tomatoes that bad? You know, like, do we really need someone restocking SpaghettiOs so that this person doesn't die? Like, it's a tough balance. It's
Yeah.
almost like, should it go straight delivery? You know, I don't know, man. What do you think about all that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think more now than ever, we realize how much we all depend on each other. Like that's,
Ooh.
a
Yes.
great lesson to
Yes.
take from this
Yes.
horrible experience, and appreciate each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's got to come down to each individual's situation. And are they young and healthy? Do they have some type of pre-existing condition? Does their spouse, if they're taking care of their elderly parents or whatever it may be, to take that into consideration.
That makes sense.
I think it all just comes down to risk management.
You have that insurance mind. I love it. That's how you think. You break everything down like that, right? Like,
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then you made me think of it earlier too, when you were talking about, if people shut down their business or have business risk, or if they're, COVID's not covered and so they don't have any loss of income. But, just in general, life's risky, no matter what we do.
That's true.
And there's only so much you can transfer to insurance companies, and especially as entrepreneurs, you have, am I going to invest in this, this gig, or go to this event, or buy a bigger, double size of my restaurant chain, or whatever it may be. You always have these risks, and so it's just a matter of manage them the best we can. And then what you can transfer with insurance, then you make that decision. Do I want to retain this risk, or do I want to transfer it? But you never get rid of all your risk.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a tough business to be in, man, because people just kind of like probably want to throw everything at insurance. You know what I mean? Just everything. Just you must get. I could just imagine that could be a very frustrating industry to be in. And on top of that, you mainly deal with restaurant and food industry, right? Or is that all you deal with?
Yeah, that's primarily what I deal with. Yeah. So, I'd say 80% is food.
Yeah.
And that's what I focus on. And then just through other means of, ensure other like office parks and things like that. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you'll fold in other businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that some of the businesses were getting recently that they were getting like delivery insurance. So I didn't realize that was a thing. So I guess some of these restaurants and bars that are doing this takeout and delivery may not have that insurance for that, right? So they're probably doing this without that insurance.
Right.
That's tough.
They're using their personal vehicles and, driving. So if they get in an accident, their personal auto policy
doesn't cover business, right? Is that the deal?
Well, it actually does, because the business language in a personal auto policy is pretty narrow. They don't want you basically delivering, for a fee. So basically, if you hired me and said, "Hey, will you deliver this food for my business?" They're not an employee; they're just someone else that says, "Hey, you can hire me and I'll deliver things." That's excluded. It's called livery. I think that's how you say that word. And then the other one
folks.
is like operating like a cab driver. So, you Uber people, those are all excluded. That's really where the business exclusion is. And the asterisk there is, always got to check, but that's kind of the way the standard policy is worded. So if your employees are they're an employee and your boss says, "Hey, go deliver this food," you're not doing that for a fee. You're just doing that as part of your job. So there's no exclusion for that. And if you get in an accident, your personal auto policy will respond, but the business is still on the hook too, just from the association of them doing something for the business when they got in the accident.
Got it.
So there's a coverage that's called non-owned auto that you can have, so that you're covered when your business gets dragged into a situation like that.
Got it. Okay. Well, hey, businesses, if you hear this, I bet some businesses don't even think about that. Maybe it's not even something I didn't know that. Like, I had no idea. I would have never honestly thought that.
Yeah, we reached out to the customers to make sure that the ones that are doing it know that. So
Yeah, right on, right on. Yeah, because again, probably a lot of these, I know a lot of these restaurants were not set up for delivery or even takeout, before, and now all of a sudden they're having to adjust, right, and make. I mean, Uchi's doing delivery. What? It's so strange
yeah,
to get that kind of food delivered. But I guess what they're doing, what one of my friends told me, who's a chef up in Dallas, told me some of their stuff is you sort of make it at home, so it doesn't come ready to eat. You have to sort of piece together the final, things so that it's fresh and ready, which is actually would be the best way to do that.
yeah.
So
I've heard like Easy Tiger, I think's doing that with their
yeah,
bread. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You're right. Yes, you can make the bread at home. Right. I think some of these ideas will stick in the industry when this is all said and done.
yeah,
I really do. Like for instance, the episode or the podcast that came out today, I spoke with Sam Lash, and you may know him. He's the co-founder of Farm to Table. So they deliver to all the best restaurants in Austin, right? Houston, Dallas, for all the farms. And they didn't do public delivery, but now they do. And he's like, we're going to stick with it when this is all said and done. Like, we're going to keep home delivery for, me or you could get a box of fresh farm food from them now, and they're going to stick with that. So that's kind of cool, that some of these things may stick with the restaurants, people that did delivery that wouldn't think about it before, but now they found a way to do it. I've seen like you've probably seen it too, the pop-up sort of markets inside the restaurants,
yeah,
just in the dining room or whatever. I don't think anybody's doing that now because of how things are. I'm not sure. But I love those ideas. I think some of those things could stick, with what's left of the industry when this is all said and done. The skeleton.
yeah.
I read a horrible statistic this morning that potentially over 110,000 restaurants or something will close because of this, which is um, very,
Yeah.
very scary, dude.
That's scary. I say the obstacle is the way. So whatever the challenge is now, to your point, it is the way. And so if you can pivot and create another side of your business, one other example comes to mind is the food trucks with online ordering.
Yeah,
So if they can find a way to efficiently do online ordering, and that's going to stick around. And if you can order ahead at a food truck, because some of the hardest parts of food truck is it takes a while. There's only so much space, so you could get
yeah.
there busy. But using that technology and them having to force to learn that really quickly is, I think, it's going to be something that sticks around as well.
That's awesome. I've seen you um, emailing about a particular online ordering system that people are using. Is it just here in Austin, or can people use it anywhere in Texas?
You can use it anywhere. It's a street food finder, specifically for food trucks, though, mobile food vendors, and
Got it.
they created an online.
It's only for food trucks and mobile vendors. Oh,
That
okay.
one is, yes, yeah.
That's
So for,
cool.
yeah,
That is cool.
and the guy that created that is named Nick, and he developed it inside Cincinnati, Ohio, for the Food Truck Chamber Association there. And so he's kind of a friend in the industry and friendly terms instead of really gouging them on the cost. So
Yeah.
he's kind of come out and really try to help with that. But really, any system that works is good. So, and there's a couple other ones out there now that are all giving out freebies during this time, so people can go pivot to the online ordering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You make a good point. The online ordering is something that should stick with it. It does make it easier to get those orders out because, like you said, a food truck doesn't have much space. It just takes a little bit longer to get food from a food truck, than it does, you know, a restaurant or fast food, right? Bullshit. Yeah, it just does. So yeah, if you can negate some of that time at the beginning and just show up and get your food, that's way better. I remember when I had Boca, like I hated using these systems that were coming out because of the price gouging I felt that they were doing. 30%, 33%, 35%. You're just like, holy cow, man. Like I can't afford this, I mean, I was here when Uber Eats started and Grubhub, all that. You know, when I opened Boca, none of that existed. So I was there for the beginning of, and you were too, right? You got to see the whole process of this happening. And I remember thinking, God, is there no way if we all just stop using it, like we can try to get the percentage lower, but that never works. You know, nobody, because it works for some people, so they don't want to, you know, give up on it. But yeah, man, those percentages can really kill. So if this street food finder is finding a way to make it easy and accessible for these mobile vendors, and it's not, you know, killing the cost, the margin of each, you know, sale, that's a very good thing, dude. And that can absolutely help these vendors out. So I don't, what do you think about like Uber Eats and Grubhub and all these, you
The
know?
same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unsustainable to have that much of the margin taken, and that kind of spins itself into the whole ghost kitchen conversation, where
Yes.
they're like, okay, we'll have these kitchens with no storefront, and just Uber Eats, and all these people will just drive to one spot and deliver it. But they say the overhead's less, but I don't see how that's true when you're giving away 30% to get it delivered. So I see that model working. And there's one in town actually in Austin. I think it's called TSO.
Yeah.
That
Yes. Yes. Yes.
several they're that's their model, but they deliver directly. I think that might be able to work. But the whole you know, and on top of that 30% they're taking, they're also saying, well, hey, we're not even profitable yet. So I just
Yeah.
don't see that, and it is gouging, especially the small businesses.
I think the ghost kitchen idea isn't gone far enough yet. So I remember a few years ago, I read an article about a ghost kitchen that had opened up in Chicago, and they did 6 concepts out of one kitchen, and they created 6 websites and, you know, 6 menus, but you didn't have to create any backstory. It was just like Jim's Pizza and, you know, whatever Mama's Italian food, you know, just generic stuff, and they were killing it because that's to me the best way to do the ghost kitchen is not just to have one concept out of it. You need to have, forget the no storefront. That's great. I love all that, but you need more concepts in the kitchen. That's what I think makes that work even more. You know, having multiple concepts in one kitchen, and if it's not working, dump it. Like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like you literally could just dump it. Um, you could build in that margin into that and maybe find a way to make it profitable, but you'd have to do a really good job on sourcing food because that's, and labor is the killer of all restaurants. I mean, labor cost is just what kills things. But if they could find a way for that, you know, push back that margin a little bit, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback on the delivery fees and the percentage during all this, and maybe when it's said and done. So it might get lowered. It's going to have to, because like you said, you can't, I mean, 30 something percent, that's just crazy, dude. You know, food places work on, I don't even know, under 10% margin, if that, you know, if you're lucky. If you break even, that's a success in the food business. If you're able to pay all your bills and get employees paid and, you know, everything's, you're happy. So, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a shit show. You know,
Yeah, it's a tough industry for sure.
yeah. Oh, it is cutthroat, dude. It's super
Yeah.
cutthroat. That's why I love it. Honestly, the pressure, you know, about it. Well, I say I love it. I'm out of it now. I'm on the other side of it now. Joel, have you ever worked? Did you ever work in any restaurants or
No,
anything like that? No.
I do not. I'm just a fan of the food.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
So
best. That's the best place to be
yeah,
is sitting at the table.
yeah, and that's how I got into this. You know, I did insurance prior to really focusing on food. Right after I got out of college for about 5-7 years, and around that time, the whole pivot came to be, and it's kind of you know, timely now. Is that the financial crisis happened back then, and you know, so I was doing a lot of home and auto insurance. Well, people weren't buying homes anymore, so business was fine, but it just wasn't. There was nothing to grow with at that
Yeah,
point. It was on hold. So I kind of got interested in the food side of things when the food trailers were just starting to come about during that time. And so it's important to remember that, you know, that was a challenging time as well. But that's also what sparked all the amazing gourmet food trucks that came to be. So it's, you know, there's also opportunities that were hidden in these times. And so that's kind of, I did that as a way to stay focused and grow, and then it became my passion. And then I sold the home and auto and focused on food full time. But started with the passion for being a fan of the food trucks around here.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And look, you recently have acquired with your wife as well, like your family, a couple of commercial kitchens, right? Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. We bought Capital Kitchens from Trish back in November.
So, and there's two locations to
Two
Capital
locations.
Kitchens.
Yep. Yeah. There's south and then kind of a north central one.
So, what made you guys? Because that's a crazy thing to just take on, you know.
Yeah, a lot of the people in the kitchens were already insurance clients, so I kind of had a feel for that,
Yeah,
and just kind of the entrepreneurial spirit and be a little bit closer to the food community through that, and also something my wife was interested in and could do, where it wasn't a 9 to 5, but
yeah,
you could work and not necessarily set your own schedule, but for some part of it you could. So just a way to kind
for
of
sure.
have that experience and also entrepreneurial spirit that kind of help the local community food vendors. A lot of CPG companies are there, consumer packaged goods, so just kind of helping and seeing them grow is a passion as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I mean, I remember, so you've heard of RPM Kitchen, the one with
Yep.
Robert and Max, right?
Yep.
So the P in there is Patrick. I was supposed to um, start that with them. That was our intention,
Yeah.
to get this commercial kitchen going. But I remember like we were going to have to sign a 10-year lease, and it was just a lot of money to start throwing in. And I just remember thinking, oh no, I'm trying to get out of this industry. Like I forget this. I don't want to do it. And they're doing great now. I mean, well, with obviously the virus has slowed things down a little bit, but um, it opened up. It was great, but it's a lot of work, man. I definitely getting that going it's just a lot of work. You're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of personalities, equipment going wrong or this that happening, right? And you got two locations, and their facility was brand new, and they were still having issues. It's just a tough business to be in. Running a kitchen is it's a lot of work. It really is. It's a lot of work. But now you got mad street cred, dude. Having the kitchen, you're doing the insurance. Okay, great. But now you got street cred running the kitchen. It's like, you know, you can completely relate to people now, to what they're
Yeah.
doing. Would you guys ever get a product or start a product or do something? I'm sure your wife has thought of that.
We're staying pretty busy these days, so I don't think so at this point. But you
Maybe
never know.
later.
Or partner with someone that has an idea or something like that. But
I
most
knew
recently,
it. I knew it. There's always an Joel juice. I don't know. I just came up with it right now. Joel juice. I don't know what that doesn't sound that appealing, does it? Like, hey, let's get some Joel juice. Look at that. Mango.
yeah.
Joel juice. Oh God, I shouldn't have said that. Hashtag Joel juice. That's not good. That's not
We'll
good.
look back on this day as the founding time.
Yeah, founding time, exactly. Well, I want credit if you go on Shark Tank or whatever that show's called.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
put it on record. You get 1%.
yeah, there we go. Hey,
Just
I'm
promote the
in.
name.
I'm in, dude. I'm in. Well, let's talk about so with the virus, right? That's obviously affecting what this is something I've been trying to ask everybody. What was there a point or a day or an event or something where it just you knew that this was serious? That you know what I mean? That this was different than anything you'd been through. Was there any particular point like that for you?
I think when I realized they were going to start doing home quarantine, not
Yeah.
necessarily in Texas, but just in the United States in general, and I guess probably in Washington was first, if I remember, where it's like, okay, this is going to get real.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit, we got to stay at home. Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's when I started preparing, my account managers and things to be able to work from home and make sure that we got ready for it because I knew it was just a matter of time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Because there's never been any stay-at-home order. I mean, nothing like this has ever happened to anybody. At this particular point. So it's kind of hard to like get advice from people like of what to do because like nobody's been through a pandemic like this before. So And being quarantined at home is really, I don't know. I guess it has its pluses and minuses. I was talking to a friend last night who was telling me that they're thriving right now during all this. Like for some reason, their life is just like super great. His wife's home, working from home, so they get to be together. Their kids there. He's like, I'm creative. I'm making music. Just a bunch of great stuff. Just telling me all these great things. And he's just like, dude, I don't want this quarantine to ever end. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, like, dude, I need this over yesterday. I'm just thinking about my poor mother. She's quarantined alone, can't be with anybody, and has to be alone. Like, I just think about all the people that are alone. My brother, he's single dad, so he's taking care of his kids alone, working from home alone, and 2 kids that are 4 and 5 years old. So a lot of energy. I'm just thinking about all the people, right? Healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, nurses who are literally staying in hotels because they don't want to, infect their family or anything. So it's crazy how some people you'll talk to are doing great during the quarantine and all this, and it's not an issue at all. And other people you talk to, it's just like, the end of the world, or it's just, you know what I mean? Maybe not the end of the world, but definitely not thriving, for instance. So it is kind of interesting to see how it is for different people, and how they sort of go with it. Do you know anybody that's, I mean, you don't have to name names or anything, but do you know anybody that's sort of having a hard time through all this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the families that have kids
Yeah.
and both parents work 9 to 5, and they're expected to, work from home
How do they
without
do
any
that?
daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What, I mean, that's crazy.
there's that, and of course, though, obviously the health issues are the people like you mentioned that might be alone and can't have that interaction. So one person, my grandma's 95, and so
Wow.
she lives alone. Um, she's luckily she lives in a community, the condo community, that's just a
Yeah.
normal condo, but people stop by. But you also have to be like, hey, don't stop by.
Don't stop by. Yes,
So
totally.
limited it to a handful of her closest that also don't have to go to work, so they're retired, so they're just in the condo only. Whereas some people still go to work and come home. We don't obviously want those people to stop by. But to her credit, she's sewing masks. She's been sewing them with her quilting group the last about 3 weeks now, just basically 4 or 5 hours a day, just making masks in her house. So, and
That's
back
awesome.
to that point, you're just like, well, we never experienced it before, but there's a lot of hard things we've all experienced,
Sure.
in
Sure.
life, and so we'll figure this out too. And of course, thinking of her generation and
Yeah.
world wars and things like that are just 100 times worse, than this
Sure.
situation. So
Sure.
puts it a little
Absolutely.
bit in perspective.
Yeah. It's all about perspective, dude. It just depends where you are and what your setup is,
Yeah,
that's really that's what you're going to think about this situation when you look back on it, is how you're set up, so yeah, some people got it good, some people just didn't. But yeah, you know what, you just gave me a great idea, dude. Why don't we, all the grandmas of America should be knitting masks right now. There
I
should be
know.
some massive movement getting all the grandmas together, superhero style, just
Yeah,
knitting,
yeah. Most of them have sewing skills for sure in that
yeah, dude,
generation.
absolutely. I know. RIP to my both grandmas. Otherwise, I'm sure they absolutely sewed. They would have jumped on this as well. My mom has really bad arthritis. Otherwise, because she had mentioned that to me. Oh, I would love to be helping and sewing some stuff, but my hands. I said, Mom, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Look, the best thing you can do is just stay put and you know, right? Do your thing. That's the best way to help humanity right now is just staying put and um, flattening the curve. There you go.
Yeah,
That's literally the best thing we can do right now. I'm so, I don't know about you, Joel, but I see some people out not practicing, this stay at home order, and it very much. At first, I didn't really care about it too much. Out ever, it's free, free country. I wouldn't want anybody telling me what to do. But as time goes by now and I start to see how serious it is, and like my mom's getting tested for COVID today. So this is serious to me. You know, I am getting angry at people that are not starting to take this seriously. Like it's actually starting to bother me considerably. And it wasn't before. At what point do you have freedom, and then at what point is your freedom affecting my freedom now, and my health? So I don't know, man, it's a fine line. I don't know how you feel about those things, I'm sure you
Yeah,
see pictures and stuff.
selfish is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Seems very
Selfish, right?
selfish to do it that way. And to your point, like some people don't have it as bad as others, but we all have a part to contribute to this. And for some, like that couple that is thriving, well, their opportunity may come when they need to help out someone else. They can do it. Donations for food or volunteer or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
we all have a part to play, and it does bother me too because some people are drawing their area of people taking care of is just their family. Well, you
Yeah.
got to think bigger than that. You got to think, well, I got to take care of my neighborhood, then my city, then my state, then my country, and then the world. And just it feels like very narrow-minded to just focus on that, just your own immediate self. So
I agree.
I agree with you.
I agree. It's really just needs to be a local thing. We all look out for our community and our neighborhood, and we'll be good to go. We all look out for each other. It is the best way to get through this. And that couple that I'm telling you about, they are helping. They're trying to do the best they can. And to be honest with you, I told them last night, I said, dude, I'm actually very happy to hear this. Like, because I hear a lot of sad stories. So it's very comforting to hear a positive. It's very comforting to hear that you are doing well and that you're not suffering through this. Because what do I want to hear, that you're suffering through this? Like, no. It was nice to hear, to be honest with you, but it was different, because a lot of people are just not having that experience. But again, it was nice to hear. It's nice to hear some positive stuff through all this, right? Some hopeful stuff. We got to laugh, as well. I think is important too. I try to laugh as much as I can through this. That's just my personality in general, but even more so now, because if we don't keep our sanity, we're screwed, man. I don't know about you, but how long do you feel that we have to go in this fight? I know that's hard to say, but as far as the lockdown goes, do you see us locked down for a couple more weeks, or do you see us locked down for a couple more months, or what do you think?
Probably a couple more weeks, probably 3 more weeks, and then go to phase two, which would be groups of 10 or less. And obviously, I feel like once it's the curve has been flattened a little bit, there's less people that have it obviously out there. But then we'll have a whole new set of consciousness that yes, we're gonna start going back to normal life, but we're not gonna be shaking hands. We might be wearing masks, all the time. Just different practices. I think once we're now all consciously aware and we get to a phase where not tons of people have it, that you might get some semblance of normalcy at that point. And then from there, I'm thinking about like the school year, which weighs heavy on me, is like how do you, are we going to go back to school in August? Okay. And
Yeah.
that's possible, I think, but then come October, we're probably going to spike again. We're going to be in quarantine again.
Oof.
So then you'll be out, say a month or two until the new year. And it's like, well, do we, do you go back to school the new year and just have the same thing start again? So that part is what concerns me. How do we get through that time period? And then of course, the wild card is someone comes out with a treatment that can treat people that have it, or if there's, a vaccine that can start to be used. So
Yeah.
I guess I kind of follow the Bill and Melinda Gates model, what they're kind of projecting and kind of thoughts, and they have probably the most experience out of anyone as far as studying this and dealing with it in other countries, not necessarily COVID, but they've been working on polio and different diseases. So
Yeah, you're right. I saw. I completely agree. I've been following um, what they've been doing as well, and I've been watching Bill Gates's interviews the past week and a half, and I saw his TED talk that he did, like, I don't know, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, where he basically said this. He basically predicted this entire thing. I mean,
yeah.
it's
I haven't watched that TED talk yet, but I did hear
It's a
about
little
it.
it's a little scary, dude, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. It's a little scary because everything he's saying, not everything, but there's just a lot of points that hit home, like, yes, that's what's happening right now. Yes, that's what's happening right now. Same thing when I saw the movie Contagion, the Steve Soderbergh movie, which I don't recommend people to watch. It was a bad idea. It scared the living crap out of me because it was so parallel to what's happening. Virus starts in China. spreads on the planes, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just exactly what's happening in the way they're shutting down schools and stay at home order and blah, blah, same sort of thing. Obviously, it's a movie, so they take it to another level. It's far more fatal in the movie than COVID is. But the panic is there, the anxiousness, the nervousness, the paranoia. It's all there, and it was just very surreal, to be honest with you, watching that movie again. People are saying like, "Oh, don't watch Outbreak." I'm like, the little monkey movie, like that's not scary. That's not anything like what's happening. Like you can watch that movie. That'd be like, you don't watch Transformers. Like it has nothing to do with what's happening right now. Like not at all. But Contagion, that one seems more documentary like. So it just was definitely, stay away from that one. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I kind of kick myself. It's like, how did I not, have this on my radar that this is something that could happen? And I guess a lot of us are now.
Oh, I mean, dude, you are in insurance, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're all about risk, and no, dude, there's no way. There's just no way, man. I mean,
yeah, even when it was in China when it first started, it's kind of like, oh, that's not something that U.S. needs to worry about. It will get one case, we'll shut it down.
Why would you ever think that, right? Like, there was no reason for you to ever think that there would be this happening. Nobody could have ever bet on this, dude. Ever, 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 ever.
Yeah. And in South by Southwest, I remember people were still upset when that got canceled. Now that seems like, why were we ever thinking of having it?
Absolutely. Like, honestly,
it could have been New Orleans or New York City, or
yes, it would have been. It absolutely would have been. I mean, South by affected me and my company, a lot. My whole team was flying over from London. I mean, interviews, everything set up for South, but just like a ton of people. And we were all talking about, should we come? What's going to happen? And I remember telling them, they're not going to cancel this festival. Like, are you kidding me? They never canceled this festival for anything. Like, that's not happening. People get run over with cars here. They don't cancel the festival. Like, it's going to happen. And sure enough, they canceled that to me was the wake up call when they canceled South by, because I was like, what? You just, like, the city spent like $300 million already. Like, what are you talking about? Like, people's lives were ruined when that happened. So many people relied on that money, that big push of money to come out of the slow winter or whatever. Thinking about my restaurant industry, of course, and just events booked and, deposits and whatever, you name it. That to me was this is serious. But I remember telling them, oh shit, they did cancel it. I can't believe it. And, they were still going to come. They were still going to try to come here and make things happen. And it was just a total, nightmare, man. But to be honest with you, looking back at it, I'm absolutely 1,000% glad we did not have South by. Like, holy shit, it would have been the worst decision we could have made. And yeah, I don't even think about South by anymore. It's such a small problem now in comparison.
right.
It's like, South by what? Like, I forgot about it even. It's like, I'm just thinking about the future now. Forget the past and anything that has happened. I'm just focused on what is going to happen and what can we do to move forward. Because in my world, in my bubble, it's crashing, because my whole world is the restaurant industry. So to me, it's paralyzed. It's on its knees, and it's heartbreaking because every friend that I have is pretty much in the restaurant industry, to be honest with you. So everybody's dealing with some, horrific problem. Again, nobody in the industry that I'm talking to is like, yeah, we're doing great. Sales are up. Nobody. I mean, it's like, so it's just, it's a little depressing, to be honest with you, and it's just depressing, man. Like, I need to hear some good news, like, about the industry. I need to hear some good stuff that's happening. Like, I need, to know that we're going to get through this. And, and I know we will, right? We are going to get through this. But I guess just at what cost, right? It just, I don't know, just bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, I think survival mode right now for restaurants. And the silver lining is it'll be less competition.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
That's true.
if you can survive this, then you'll be on the other side with a large advantage. Especially if you can keep operating, keeping some some level of operation to get to the other side. But it is tough with the size of the overhead with rents and things. Restaurants have very high rents, and so if there's not a way to work through that, especially if this is longer term, then everyone loses. And a lot of people that are affected now will be affected, as the trickle down effect of all this. So we're all in it together. But on a positive note, I mean there are some businesses that I think are doing like Daily Juice, for example, client. They ship their produce door to door now, kind of like you were talking about earlier, as a way to pivot to get through this time and also deliver their juices as well. So
I like that.
That's one idea.
I like that.
So they're doing good, and then if you can package your good in some way, like you said, that the kits are doing well, and then a lot of the mobile food vendors are some of them are doing well that can go and pivot and go to whether it's a neighborhood or apartment complex and go serve there. So those are some highlights that they've been able to accomplish.
Sure.
And then of course I mentioned earlier the consumer packaged goods side of things. They're all doing fairly well. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, God, that's so interesting.
I got a question for you. What do you think about the idea of these drinks to go? If you can have mixed drinks from the restaurants that don't have to be sealed, but could be sealed by the restaurant. Do you think that's something that might help? Have you seen the movement for that?
Yeah, it's a dangerous slope, but yes, I think absolutely during right now, I think they should be allowed to do it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
To be frank with you.
It's another excuse to order out and support the restaurants.
Absolutely. It's inventory that they have.
Right.
If we're really talking about helping the restaurants and help, yes, it's inventory that they have that they need to move as well. And it's another revenue stream. It's another add-on, right? That's what restaurants is all about. It's all about adding on. It's all about, okay, sir, you want to get the salad? Would you like to add this to it? Would you like to? That's what restaurants is about. I mean, that's how you make the money. So yes, I think and liquor sales in particular has a great margin. That's one of the best margins you can have at a place is your liquor. So I think absolutely, dude. Plus it gives maybe the bar or restaurant will now have to maybe bring an extra person in, like a bartender, right? So it might even help bring in extra staff and employ more people. So yeah, I absolutely think it's something you can do. Plus, who's gotten a margarita to go? That sounds awesome. Like you know what I mean? A couple margaritas at the house. Like, I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think now when this is all done, should we continue to do it? No, not a good idea at all, at all. Now I'm not opposed to beer or do they do that already? Like beer and wine, you can get delivered just period. Can you do that?
Yeah, like from a restaurant or from a grocery store?
Just, I guess. Well, I guess not from a restaurant, but from a grocery store. Can you have that delivered?
Yeah, I've seen advertisements for it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think letting the restaurant do it as well is not a bad idea. Like, I don't know about you, but I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, near Philly. And in Pennsylvania, and I know other states do it, Ohio, and I'm sure they're connecting states around there. You can get beer and wine to go from the bar.
Oh.
No problem. When the bar's closing at 2 a.m. and you're headed home, hey, you know what? Give me a 6-pack of Yingling on my way out. No problem. I mean, it's completely legal there. In fact, you can't buy. That's where you buy 6-packs and 12-packs and singles is at bars. The convenience stores don't sell them. You have to go to a specific place and buy by the case and buy in big quantities unless you go to a bar and buy it like that. So I don't see how Texas couldn't adopt that same sort of practice and let them continue to do that. But as far as like a mixed drink goes, definitely do not let them start sending out mixed drinks when this is all said and done. I can see drivers,
Yeah.
dipping into that. Like,
It's too easy.
it'd be way too easy, dude. I just think that would
Yeah.
absolutely happen. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I mean, look, at this point, I'm all for anything. I think there's no rules. I think it's time to take the gloves off. And I think, like you said, if you don't learn to pivot right now and adapt, you're done. You're toast. There's just, I mean, the restaurant industry is all about adapting and pivoting regardless. And we're fighters anyway from this industry, right? We know how to get through things, tough times, work long hours, sacrifices. If any industry can handle it, it's ours. That's what we're all about. But to what extent? So, I don't know, man. It's a tough situation right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are talking about the industry changing as far as people not want to go out to eat. I don't think that's going away. I think we'll always people always want to go out and eat, but there's a lot of talk about that right now too, and I just think there's no basis for that. We'll find a way to
Yeah.
get back to work to having restaurants and busy and all that, but it's just a matter of time.
Dude, the bar or pub or whatever you want to call it, that's like literally the first building humans made, right? Like that's literally the first thing they constructed. Like, where can we drink, sit and drink? So the bar and restaurant is never going away, no matter
Right.
what. I mean, never, ever, 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 ever. It's a business that will always be around. Now, like you said earlier, you were talking about when things do open back up and we're able to go out, it's not going to be a rush to get everything and just, of course not. It's going to be a slow build. So of course restaurants and bars are going to have it's going to be a slow sort of build up to get people comfortable again, but then it will get back to actually more than what it was before. That's my guess, as I think it will be even more than before. I think people will go out even more. I think they'll spend more money. So I think the remaining businesses that have survived after the flood, if you will, they will do very well. In fact, that is my guess, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of pent up demand, and
Yes,
we kind of take it for granted. You could just go sit in a
exactly.
restaurant, and how that makes you feel, even though you're with that one person, but
Yeah,
just being around everyone is
yeah,
something you kind of took for granted, and how we crave that as people.
yeah. That's a good point, man. What else do you think is taken for granted right now? That's a great point. What else do you think is
But I
people
kind
are
of touched
taking
on
for?
earlier the community aspect,
Yeah,
that we're all in this together, and we're all relying on each other,
yeah,
during this time. So that that comes front of mind. Um, and just appreciate business wise, or appreciate your customers even more, and you can also empathize with them more, and it's a time where we're all in this together from that point of view too. So
yeah. For me, it's like whatever you bitched about before, think about it now. Is it worth bitching about? You know what I mean? I
right.
think I think it should put things in perspective for people, and I think it should really make you think what your life is actually about. What do you live for? When you get up in the morning, what is it for? And I think right now people are figuring that out, and that's a good thing in my opinion. So
Right. When things get pulled away, like a time like this, you realize, they get pulled away. You didn't want it to happen so bad, and then it does, and you realize, what was I holding on to that
exactly,
for sure. And also, it's an exciting time too for when there's this much rapid change. It's kind of like when you move to a new city and everything's new, you don't know anything. You tend to learn a lot and grow a lot during those times too, whether it's your business or personally or family or whatever it may be. So
yeah.
that's the other kind of lesson that I'm trying to take in.
That's a good point, man. And people can use this time to learn new things, new hobbies, new tricks, new play a new instrument, new language, whatever it may be, a way to you know expand your mind, if you will. Because I think mental health is one of the keys to everyone getting through this.
Right.
Everyone maintaining their mental health, because it could be very easy enclosed one place for a very long time. Um, you know, can just drive somebody crazy. I mean, like you said, we need social You know what I mean? We sort of need that. We need to be around people. I mean, it's just how we are as humans. So taking that away from everybody is very difficult, man. I mean, for an introvert, they're loving right now. Like, this is they've been preparing for this their whole life. They're just
Yeah.
like, this is great.
I
But
count
for,
myself in that category, but
yeah.
but you know, you start to realize I'm never on Facebook, and now I kind of crave it because that's the social interaction. And you know, I've talked to friends I haven't talked to in 5 years. You know,
Yeah,
Zoom meetings, things like that, that you kind of all take for granted too. So I guess it's another benefit of all this.
that's true, man. I'm talking to people I haven't spoken to in a long time and having very deep, right, long conversations. And yeah, I almost in a way am busier now than I was before.
I think that's
Like,
key, is to stay busy. You know,
yes, yes, yes.
whatever it is. And I've also seen a lot of uptick in myself as well, exercising more because you
Great.
know helps burn off the anxiety, feel better, all that. And so
Yeah.
I've seen it in the stock reports too that a lot of people are buying home exercise equipment now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I am not. I am actually developing a 3-month baby. Currently, I'm at my second trimester, and it is just building.
You're not walking more outside?
I'm walking. I have my dogs, so I have been taking them for walks, but I don't know what's happening. Something's happening since the quarantine. I got the corn belly, I call it. It just, I don't know what's happening. It's just building upon itself. I don't know. So I need to work on that for sure. And do some, as Vanessa told me, do some sit-ups. So I guess I just need to do some sit-ups and get that figured out. So I don't know. It is tough, but you do have to stay active. You know, are you guys going out for walks and stuff? Do you guys go
Yeah,
do stuff like that?
walks and bike rides. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I think that's key. I don't see anything wrong with that. Dude, I did read about last night, and I don't know. I'm sure you read this too. I don't know what to think about this. That a tiger at the Bronx Zoo was. Did you read
I
it?
saw
That
that. Yeah.
what tested positive for the coronavirus? Like, you know, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Do I need to be worried about my dogs now? You know,
Yeah.
I
They're
don't.
spreading it and mutating or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of, they didn't really give much detail,
Yeah,
but
they
that's,
didn't give much detail. You're right.
so
This
you
is
got
like,
it. Yeah. Well, what does this mean?
yeah. Are your pets dying? Tune in at 9. You're like, what? Now? Tell me now. You know, like, why till 9? So yeah, you're right. It actually, at least the article I read, and I'm not saying I use the best sources. I try to, you know, whatever, but it said that potentially a few more of the tigers could also be infected. Um, and they said the zoo's been closed. You know, so who infected this tiger? Like, and how close are you getting to this tiger to be able to infect it? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? What's going on there? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
All of a sudden,
The good
we're all
news is
interested in tigers
tigers.
all of a sudden because of what is it, Tiger King?
Yeah, Tiger King.
Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're getting coronavirus. It's like,
The good news is tigers social distance anyway. Like they're known to separate anyway, so that's a good thing. We don't have to worry about.
yeah.
You know, it must be meat or something that they got. That scares me. That's what worries me. Like, how did they get it?
Oh, I glanced at an article and it said that the keeper
Oh,
had
the
it.
keeper.
Yeah, keep
Okay.
the yeah. So they
Okay.
got it from a human, as far as I
Okay.
understood.
But either way, what's that keeper doing to the tiger? Like, how close is he getting to the tiger? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm just saying. Somehow, yeah, there's some Tiger King shit going on up there too. I don't know. Something else that they could do a sequel. But it did worry me. It just made me think, should I take my dogs out for a walk? Is that where that's where my mind's starting to go now with these things? Like, you know, what do I need to start pulling away? At what point am I paranoid? And at what point am I just being prepared? You know,
Yeah.
it's a fine line that I'm sure everybody is dealing with. So it's a tough thing. But well, Joe, what else, man? Do you have anything else that you wanted to discuss or talk about or mention?
No, I think the only thing is like the stimulus plan. You know, have a little bit of hope for that. Obviously, there's been some delays out of the gates, but you know, some of these restaurants and businesses will get access to some of those funds, and that hopefully get us through some of the worst part. So there is some hope there, and so I just want to mention that. And
That's
you know,
true. Is
if
that
people
the
already haven't looked into it, to start to look at that process, although there's still a lot of confusion around it, there's also a lot of money being thrown around to try to help. So
Is that the PPP program?
Yeah, there's a PPP, which is the payroll protection program. So that's one piece, and that piece has some forgivable aspects to it. So it's a loan that can be forgiven. And then there's an SBA straight up loan that can be applied, disaster loan. And there is a portion of that, about 10,000, that's quick and basically been said to be forgivable. So there's that aspect that a business could possibly take advantage of. But right now it's all in theory, and people are applying, and probably this week we'll start to see some results from that. That may help, pay some bills, pay some rent, get some people hired again potentially. So that's a little bright spot.
Absolutely. I think the idea behind it, right, is to just make sure you continue to pay your employees and have a job for them, so that when we do open back up, you're able to just rock back into it, right? Because otherwise it could be destabilizing in some ways. So, okay, that is good. That is, those are two good things for sure. Yeah, the stimulus loan for sure. Plus, and just everybody's getting, well, not everybody, but people are getting some stimulus checks. So that might help some people that have lost their jobs, to help. And unemployment too, I think, is offering some additional benefits and extending the time that you can have unemployment. So that'll be good for a lot of people that, lost their jobs. So yeah, I guess there's definitely some positive things for sure. I mean, look, as far as I've seen, the restaurant community here in Austin and Texas in particular has been amazing. Everybody's been looking out for each other and posting and supporting and, trying all different things to support one another. And it's been great to see that, to be honest with you. So, yeah, we got to end on a positive note for sure.
Yeah.
Tell me something positive, Joel. End us on a positive note. Something positive.
What else is positive?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's probably the best one I got right now.
Hey, that's money. You're basically just talking about money to people, so that's definitely a positive.
Yeah. Well, it's a lifeline, and it can get people to the other side. A business that was struggling prior to this, it's probably not enough. But for those that want to keep going and pushing, you could have a really large loan, but is your business worth saving for that loan? And so people will self-select that and get them to the other side. So
that makes sense. If your business wasn't doing well before, it's not like this is going to save you. It's more for, if you were rocking before, keep on rocking sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't think about it that way. Well, good, man. That's a good positive thing to end on for sure. Well, look, Joel, again, man, I know it's crazy times, and I know you're super busy and got a lot going on, so I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today and just kind of, give us your insight on things, man. It's been great talking to you.
Likewise. Pleasure to talk to you, Patrick.
Absolutely, dude. Well, good, man. Look, take care of your kids today. Say hi to your wife, and let me know if you need anything, man. If there's ever anything you need, you please let me know.
All right. You do the same.
All right, brother. Well, be good today. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Hopefully I didn't touch my face during the whole interview.
Yeah, you didn't. I think
video
I did.
Will tell.
I think I did. Yeah, video will tell.
I sat on them the whole time, so I wouldn't.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. All right, brother. Well, be good, man, and stay safe, boss.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, bud. Bye. All right, guys. Hope you really enjoyed that episode of the Lone Star Plate podcast. Make sure if you have any questions or concerns or suggestions, email me, patrick@texasrealfood.com. Ask me anything about the podcast or anything about food, and I'll talk about it on the podcast. And don't forget to like and share on social media. You can also listen to the podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. You can view it because we're filming this. It's on YouTube. So go to Texas Real Food. And you can listen to all that. And just overall information about the podcast, go to thelonestarplate.com. And that'll give you all the information you need about the podcast. Okay, so, all right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Keep 6 feet away. And stay at home. We'll talk later. Peace.